Hi, my name is Alex Walsdorf, and I am doing this presentation loosely off of the book No Sense of Place, which was written by Joshua Merowitz. The book explains how electronic media has a detrimental impact on social behavior, focusing primarily on how the television causes viewers to lose their sense of identity. This book, which was written in 1985, was extremely thought-provoking at the time of its release. Merowitz's main argument stems around our society's dependency and experience with television and other forms of electronic media. Merowitz claims that electronic media create new social situations that are no longer defined by where we are or who we are with. These new social situations make it impossible for us to behave in traditional ways. This shift in social situations can be directly attributed to society's ever-shifting experience with electronic media. His argument is still prevalent over 20 years later in today's current discussion of, are we dependent on technology? While there are many arguments, many people claim the younger generation, mainly those 25 and under, are entirely dependent on technology. But are the younger members of our society really dependent on technology, or are we merely taking full advantage of the electronic devices offered to us? For this presentation, let's focus primarily on the technologies of the cell phone and the computer and internet. These technologies are widely used throughout our society. We'll also focus on the United States public aged 18 and above. First up, cell phones. What age groups use cell phones the most, and what are they used for? According to the Pew Research study, the age group that has the largest percentage of cell phone ownership is the millennial age group, or people that are between the age of 18 and 34. 95% of people in this age group own cell phones. The percentage of cell phone ownership continues to decrease as the age goes up. Within Generation X, or people between the ages of 35 to 46, 92% of them own cell phones. 86% of people aged 47 to 56 own cell phones. 84% of people aged 57 to 65 own cell phones. 66% of people aged 66 to 74 own cell phones. And 48% of the people aged 75 and above own cell phones. By analyzing these statistics, one can clearly see that the younger generations more often than not own cell phones. It is true that the younger generation sends more texts, takes more pictures, and updates their Facebook account more often than any other generation. This use, which is abused by some people, is seen as a dependent attitude by many of the older generation. However, is the younger generation really at fault for their dependency on their cell phones? We'll get into this a little later, but first, let's look at computers, both laptops and desktops, and the internet. Like cell phones, laptop ownership is highest in younger generations and declines as age increases. 70% of people aged 18 to 34 own laptops, while 61% of people aged 35 to 46 own laptops, and 49% of people aged 47 to 56 own laptops. Unlike laptops and cell phones, however, desktop computer ownership is not highest in the younger generation. The highest percentage of desktop ownership is by people aged 35 to 46 at 69%. People aged 18 to 34 own desktop computers less than any other age group less than 65 years old, with 57% ownership. While it may be expected younger people own laptops and older people own desktops, the fact remains that almost as many people aged 35 to 46 own as many computers as people aged 18 to 34. However, it is not the ownership of computers that is at question. The problem of computer dependency is not based off of ownership. Instead, it's based off of the question of what are computers being used for. The fact of the matter is, younger people use computers from the internet more often than any other age group. Whether it be for video games, checking email, general web browsing, or visiting social networking sites, young people spend more time on the internet. This high use of both cell phones and the internet has many detrimental impacts on people. The overuse of cell phones and the internet causes those who are dependent on the technology to become antisocial. This antisocial behavior causes people to be unable to form meaningful relationships outside of their technology-driven bubble. Many people, especially the younger generation, are dependent on their cell phones and their computers and internet. But who's at fault for this? The millennial generation, those aged 18 to 34, didn't create the cell phone, computer, or internet. We merely use the technology offered to us. We didn't choose to create a mobile phone that has the ability to send text messages and surf the web. We didn't choose to create the computer and the internet. Yes, even though we didn't create the technology, we still choose to use it. So are we at fault for our dependency? Sort of. Our society is pushing for new technology. That's just the way it is. More and more jobs are being created based off of computers. The ability to surf the web and check your email on your mobile phone is needed to stay competitive in our economy. Our generation is in the midst of a massive societal shift to technology dependency. It just makes our lives easier. It's easier to keep in touch with family and friends that live in other cities. It's easier to research and have all the other questions answered. Our dependency on cell phones and the computer/internet, in particular, in the eyes of younger generations, makes our lives easier and more entertaining, and that's the way our society is. So yes, our generation uses their cell phones too much and is on the internet too often. But that's what our society is telling us to do. We're just taking advantage of opportunities offered to us, whether they are good or bad. In order to stay competitive in the world, we make our lives as easy as possible. We need to rely on technology. There is no turning back. It's time for people to jump on the technology bandwagon.